Queen Elizabeth II becomes the longest reigning monarch in British history. Elizabeth II was born on April 21, 1926, in London, England, to Prince Albert, Duke of York, later King George VI, and Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon. In 1947, she married Philip Mountbatten, Duke of Edinburgh, with whom she had 4 children: Charles, Prince of Wales, Anne, Princess Royal, Prince Andrew, and Prince Edward. Elizabeth II ascended the throne after her father's death on February 6, 1952. Her coronation took place on June 2, 1953. During her reign, Elizabeth II saw the British Empire transformed into the Commonwealth of Nations, a free association of equal and independent states. She also witnessed the decolonization of Africa and Asia and the breakup of the Soviet Union. Elizabeth II made numerous state visits and toured extensively throughout the world. In 1992, she and the Duke of Edinburgh celebrated their 40th wedding anniversary with a tour of Canada and the United States. In 2002, she celebrated her Golden Jubilee, marking 50 years on the throne, with visits to various Commonwealth countries. Elizabeth II was created a Dame Grand Cross of the Order of the British Empire in 1945, and in 1953 she has proclaimed Queen Elizabeth II, Defender of the Faith. In 1957, she was given the title of Head of the Commonwealth. Accession to the throne. The late King George VI's health began to seriously decline in the summer of 1951. Princess Elizabeth represented him on various state occasions. In October 1951, Elizabeth and her husband, Prince Philip, embarked on a highly successful tour of Canada and Washington, D.C. They returned to England for Christmas and then set out for a tour of Australia and New Zealand in January 1952. However, they had to cut their trip short when they received news that King George VI had died on February 6, 1952. Elizabeth, now Queen, flew back to England immediately. The first 3 months of her reign were spent mourning for her father. She began to undertake the routine duties of the sovereign and carry out her first state opening of Parliament on November 4, 1952. Her coronation was held at Westminster Abbey on June 2, 1953. The modern monarchy, House of Windsor. The British royal family's last name was changed to Windsor in 1917 when anti-German sentiment was at its height during World War I. The House of Windsor is the royal house of the United Kingdom, which succeeded the House of Hanover after the death of Queen Victoria in 1901. During the anti-German atmosphere of World War I, George V declared by royal proclamation, July 17, 1917, that all descendants of Queen Victoria in the male line who were also British subjects would adopt the surname Windsor. Britain's colonies began to rapidly gain independence in the 1960s, with Elizabeth II coming to the throne just before this historical event. While Britain still possessed over 70 overseas territories at this time, it was clear that the empire was not going to last. India, which was once referred to as the jewel in the crown of the British Empire, had already gained independence 5 years before Elizabeth II became queen. In 1952, British troops were fighting uprisings in Egypt and Kenya. Both of these countries eventually won their independence. The empire continued to shrink over the years, with Hong Kong eventually being transferred to China in 1997. Elizabeth II's son, now King Charles II, referred to this event as the end of the empire. The British Empire has been criticized for its contribution to slavery, particularly in the sugar-producing islands of the Caribbean, and the movement of African people for profit. It is estimated that 12 million Africans were captured and transported into slavery, with at least 1/3 of these carried in British ships. Throughout the 18th and 19th centuries, the huge sugar plantations across the Caribbean provided around 80% of the sugar consumed in Western Europe. Relying on slavery to complete the labor-intensive work, this market helped make Britain the prosperous superpower it became. Long before the reign of Queen Elizabeth II, the 1833 Slavery Abolition Act was introduced to abolish slavery in most British colonies, freeing thousands of enslaved Africans in the Caribbean and South Africa. The modern Commonwealth emerged from the British Commonwealth of Nations, created by the Balfour Declaration of 1926. Today, the King of the United Kingdom, Charles III, is still the monarch of 15 out of the 56 Commonwealth nations. These 15 nations are Antigua and Barbuda, Australia, the Bahamas, Belize, Canada, Grenada, Jamaica, New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, and Tuvalu, including UK and India. These countries contain a total population of around 2.2 billion people. However, 36 other members of the Commonwealth are republics, and 5 others have different monarchs. As the Commonwealth nations join the British people in mourning their late queen, mixed feelings from former colonies of the empire and questions about the future of the monarchy's role remain. Operation London Bridge is the code name for the plan for the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II. It includes the announcement of her death, the period of official mourning, and the details of her state funeral. The plan was created in the 1960s and has been revised many times. Several other plans have been created to support the implementation of Operation London Bridge, such as Operation Unicorn. Operation Unicorn details what would happen if the Queen were to die in Scotland. Operation London Bridge is running concurrently with other operations concerning King Charles III's accession to the throne and his coronation. Several Commonwealth realms have developed their own plans for how to react to the death of the Queen. In conclusion, Queen Elizabeth II has held the throne of the British monarchy for 7 decades, and some call the period the Second Elizabethan era. There have been many important events during her reigns, such as Brexit and the change of 15 prime ministers. King Charles, who succeeded Queen Elizabeth II, has the great task of bearing the symbolic duties of the head of state and continuing the stability of the monarchy when many groups began to think that monarchy is no longer suitable for modern times.